Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Tales with TR, episode 253A, coming at you from beautiful Toronto, Ontario, the abode of the Sandman. Thanks to Sandman and Terry Virtue for helping me out last week. Enjoyed our little three-way. Maybe we'll introduce more of that as time elapses here. Figure I would have done that already, right? You figure in 450 shows or so that I would have thought of that, but I didn't. Anyway, decent feedback so far. Thanks for listening. I'm going to answer some questions. So the first one I've been asked, and this might be 2 years since I've answered this. I've definitely answered it before on here. And my brain and my words often are just a mishmash of ideas and phrases and goals and hopes and dreams and whatever. And I forget what I said and when I said it. So this question comes from Paul in Muskoka, and he's saying he has a son. My son's 15 years old. And I'm just wondering, he looks like he's going to be a pretty good player. He's been an elite player up to now. Don't want to get ahead of myself, but he's probably going to go to junior or college. Thank you, Paul. If he's 15, you'd probably know that by now. For those who think I'm being sarcastic, I'm not. In hockey, your 16-year-old year, being an early underager in major junior, right? So if you're 15, you're getting drafted into that. I got drafted to the Western League when I'm 14. So I'm guessing, Paul, that he's got that decision right now, or else he's probably not elite. Just let you know as a parent, if he's 15 and if he's turning 16, that would be different. I guess if he's turning 16 this year, he would have already, right, been drafted to the O or something. Anyway, I don't know that. What he's asking me is what's better, the college route or the major junior route? Look, that's different for everybody. It really is. For me, it made sense, but I was looking at going to Yale, to be honest. I mean, any offer. The goal for me leaving home was to get my schooling. I didn't really know much about it. My dad, obviously having played pro and using professional hockey as a catapult to get his degree, that was his goal, right? That's why if you look at my dad's stats, I think he fucking played in the WHA right out of junior, which was a rival league, the NHL, and he was fairly successful. He led the league in shorthanded goals at 13 as a rookie, and was going to go back and tried for Minnesota in the NHL. He was also drafted there, but got sent down to the minors, and really his last year in the minors, I think he had 100 and something points. So my dad's goal wasn't to be a professional hockey player. It was to be an educated man with a degree. Right. So you got to put that into perspective. So when I was leaving, he saw it. He saw that I was a definitely, I don't know what word you want to use, a blue chip prospect coming out, and gave me every opportunity. But I remember when we were leaving, other teams were at me. I was going to go to, there was teams from all over, even though I was 14, the Quebec Pee Wee tournament's a prestigious tournament. I was rated number 1. So it was all kinds of offers. But I remember him saying, look, I won't say which teams I turned down, but I only entertained those with a university. My dad made that pretty clear. Now, I wanted it anyway, but I didn't know how it worked. And he's like, they'll give you so major junior, for each year you play, you get a free year university anyway. But he's like, I'd rather you go somewhere that has a university. And sure enough, Tri-Cities, probably looking, Tri-City don't have a university? Yes, they do. They have campuses of University of Washington, which is in Seattle, and Washington State University, which is in Spokane. Both aren't far from Kennewick, Richland, and Pasco, which are the Tri-Cities. And I did attend university classes while I played. I graduated a year early. So I was graduated high school halfway through my 16-year-old year. So I would have had to go another year and a half in Canada. It's a long story, though. I had skipped a grade, and then somewhere in the mix, you miss courses, whatever it was. So I graduated at 16. So then my second half of the year at 16, and then 17, 18, I did go to university. But I think what Paul's asking is, as a scholarship or to further yourself in hockey, what's probably better? So a scholarship would be U.S. college for the most part. And major junior also do pay. So schooling can be accomplished either way, which a lot of people don't realize. That's the point I was getting at with major junior. When it comes to opportunity, and moving on and what's better for my life as a hockey player, it's different for everybody. For me, junior made sense, and the Western League made sense. I didn't leave home. I played Pee Wee at home. I was a skilled player. I never threw a hit. But when hitting was introduced and fighting, I didn't really back down. And that, I guess that's probably an attribute that, especially in the 90s, was sought after. But I didn't really know it till I left. And I knew I was a chippy kid, but I didn't. There was no hitting other than the odd piss and shouting match. It really, I mean, I was big and everything, but I didn't know. I didn't know how I'd respond to physical play or fighting or any of that. So when I got to the Western, but I wasn't afraid of it, and I was comfortable, So, and at the time, right, it was college was completely different. It is different now, but not quite. In that they wear cages. There's virtually no fighting. There's way less games. There's no road trips like we were going on, fucking 30 hours to Brandon and then make your way back. It's a grind, and it's not for everybody. But hey, Danny Heatley went one way. Ed Jovanovski another way. Connor Bedard one way. Macklin Celebrini. And these are going to be great players either way, right? Now those are the blue chippers. The rest of it, it's a judgment call. I've seen players. I'll name them now. Two guys from home from Newfoundland, Kyle McGraw and Jason Hedges. Hedgie came out ahead of Kyle. Now Hedgie's probably 40 years old now, and Kyle's 25 or 26, but both really dynamic players. And they just asked me, I would have said, like, you guys got to go the college route, right? And in both their cases, right, because they're elite players in Newfoundland, so they got scouted to go to the Quebec Major Junior League, Junior A first, and then Quebec Major Junior. So they went and played, and they didn't play a lot. And what they did was fuck up their college eligibility. Now that all changed last year. And the rules are so nuanced and specific that I'm not really entirely sure. But now what I do know is that you can float back and forth Canadian Major Junior, NCAA, more so than you ever could before. It was a real rarity before, if at all. And once you played, and you could only come from the NCAA. So like Todd Simpson played a long time in the NHL, came to us in Tri-Cities, but he had gone to Brown University. So Todd went 16, 17 Junior A, 18 Brown University, Western League 19 and 20, which was extremely rare. And even to play at 20 and then make the NHL, that's rare. So it did happen. Now, you couldn't go the other way at all. You couldn't play Major Junior. So once I played a game Major Junior, I could never go to Yale if I wanted to, or fucking Michigan State or wherever, right? So like I said before, it's a judgment call. And what are you doing? And first of all, unless you're absolutely positive you're going to get picked into the NHL, and no one's really positive. I mean, I had an idea, but I could have gotten injured or whatever. I guess that can happen to anybody. But I did once I became like a real big prospect. Then it was junior. But really, if you're sitting there and you want to get something out of it, I guess it would be you could accomplish that either way. College would be a completely different experience. But again, you do get your schooling paid for each year you play Major Junior. So, you go and play your 4 or 5 years. There you go. And some people are different. Anyway, getting back to Hedgie and Kyle, they're just little whippersnappers. They're bouncing around. They're rabbits. They're rabbits. I mean that in a good way. I mean, on the ice, they're very elusive. They're not physical. They're small in stature and really slight, but bullets. And, Kyle played on the Growlers, at a senior. They needed a player. They called him up. Jason Hedges easily could have. Hedgie I played years of senior hockey with, and they ended up being senior hockey legends more than anything. But great guys, and I just think they made the wrong decision by going to Major Junior. They're good enough to play, but they got in the situation that I think they were more apt to play college. And I just use those people as an example because I've seen it with my own eyes. There's other people. There you go. Use a Newfoundlander, Clark Bishop. I could have told you, and played a few games for the Flames this year. He's been up and down in the NHL for a few years, got 50 or 60 games in, and a real hard worker. I could have told you when Clark was 12 years old that he's probably going to be better off suited to play Major Junior, and I was right. And everybody else was right. I wasn't unique in saying that. And he went and he became a real good two-way fucking hitter, just a reliable fucking defensive player with a little bit of a flair for offense, a real powerful skater, a strong, powerful skater. Now, had he gone NCAA, I think it would have been inevitable that he would have been half successful. But the route, definitely, and, I say that because he's a big name. His brother Joel is another great player and went to Halifax Mooseheads, played Major Junior, and then ended up going to St. Mary's and getting his degree, right? So, and those guys, I could have told you again when they were 10 that they were Major Junior. So everybody's different. I appreciate the question, Paul, but I've never seen your son play. So maybe there's someone closer to you that could figure that out. But that's the answer, man. Is it's a judgment call, and maybe figure out the style of your son. Where would he go? Is he going to go to the OHL? Maybe he's more comfortable playing close to home. Maybe the only college offer he has is in Arizona, which is a nice place, but he doesn't want to move. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that goes with it. And by the way, the last thing I'll say, wherever the fuck you go, and if you go to major, junior, you make sure you get a good billet. That is very, very important, and nobody talks about it ever. I've never heard anybody talk about it. It's like this secondary thing. It shouldn't be. I've seen it derail careers. I really have. I got good friends at home, dear to me, that got in a wrong situation, right? Colin Escott there, I'll tell you, third overall in the queue. Something happened, right? He went there and he didn't have a loving. I mean, I don't know. He hasn't told me this. I just heard through the grapevine something happened because Colin fell off the map. And Colin was the best prospect we had, a good friend now of mine. You know, my buddy Jordan Escott, I talk about all the time, Jordy's brother. And all I know is that when I went to my billets in Tri-Cities, Mark and Nancy, who I still talk to and I stayed with in October, I went back and saw them. They were just so full of love, and they gave me support, and were there to make sure that I didn't go off the rails. We're friends with my parents, and they weren't like checking in. They weren't every night I came home smelling my breath or whatever, but they knew I had I had a goal. They wanted, in other words, like, were you out drinking again? It wasn't like that. They gave me, and I wasn't that person. We took it serious, like I said, in Tri-Cities, and if the time was there to have a few beers, we'd do it, but it was really, really few and far between. And our our billets were a big reason. They were all friends. They were booster club buddies. They literally called them that. We all got together like the families, and it was just such a great feeling, man. It was like being in a family. Well, they're my second family, and that's important. And I see some people go places, and I don't want to name teams, but some teams don't take that as seriously. Put you with some fucking yam that wants to billet a player for the wrong reasons, and that can derail a career. So make sure that you got to have a great environment. Hey, TR, what's your favorite Beatles album, start to finish? That comes from Jerry, 25 in Aurelia. Jerry, I've talked about this before too, and I probably said Sgt. Pepper. Right now I'm listening to Abbey Road. So Abbey Road, for those that don't know, is very late album. It's in the Beatles collection anyway. They only had 9, right? Like official, the greatest hits and all that, not including. But Abbey Road is the last album the Beatles recorded. So Let It Be came out last, but they were just in the wrong. And I think it was 11 albums if you count the past masters. Anyway, I'm rambling. So they had 11 albums, and Abbey Road was the last recorded. So what I like about it, it's 1970. People think of the Beatles as like 50s and 60s, which I never know how they get to 50s. Just with a buddy the other day, there's my 50s playlist. I said the fucking Beatles didn't come to Ed Sullivan until 1964. And a lot of people don't realize they were on the go in the 70s. But 1970 was Abbey Road. It opens with Come Together, right? Then you got Something. Frank Sinatra called the best love song of all time, George Harrison. George Harrison's 2 songs, he mainly only got 2 songs an album, and are Something and Here Comes the Sun. The last song, The End. And in the end, right, they talk, and it's kind of the ending of the group. Cover art is phenomenal. I don't know if any of you have heard of the Paul is Dead rumor, but if you look at the front of the album, they're walking across the street, has no shoes on. That's the Italian method of burial. He has a smoke in his hand, symbolizing, I guess, death. He's out of step with everybody else. George is behind him, dressed like a gravedigger. Ringo's in front of him, dressed like a minister, a pallbearer, and John is leading the pack, dressed as a minister, and Paul's the one about to be buried. On the license plate is a little Volkswagen. It says 28 if, and he would have been 28 if he was alive. LMW, Linda McCartney, widow. The hints are being thrown right at you in the cover, and a lot of people didn't realize that. And, I think they still deny it, but they were fucking around. I mean, there's 1,000 examples. Check it out, the Paul is Dead rumor. So that, and there's also, it's a mishmash of songs. So the first couple start out, but then it's a medley almost, like this. The one song runs into another. Carry That Weight comes back twice. It's almost like they're taking you on a ride. And like I've often said about the Beatles, it isn't about the song, it's about the album. But there's great songs on this. Come Together, right? And Aerosmith covered that just a few years later. Yes, you'll probably hear Aerosmith on the radio, but that's the Beatles. Come Together, Over Me. A lot of people are saying that's Paul at his funeral. Come together over me, right? What would you do at a funeral? So, and there's a lot more to it, man. I could go on and on. Octopus's Garden, my favorite Ringo song, is on there. And I just, if you listen to it as a whole, I think it still feels futuristic to me. Like, put yourself in the position of the Beatles then and start listening to all the music that was going on around them at the time. And they were so far ahead. And a lot of it was the albums and what they were doing. With each album, they were pushing the envelope a little bit further, and then other bands would pick up on that. That's why I often said, you might not like the Beatles. You might hate Abbey Road. But if you like Led Zeppelin, or if you like Pink Floyd, The Wall, or you like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, it's directly coming from this. Directly. Not this is direct. Like, they were Beatles, classic rock, classic rock wasn't a thing then, but they were Beatles fans. Everybody kind of, lived and worked together. You go to shows like the British Invasion, Bowie and Clapton and the Stones, and the Beatles and Jerry and the Pacemakers, even, and all. Go on and on and on and on. And then over in the US, like the Monkees jumped on board, and then the Beach Boys, and and then the Kinks from overseas came back, and there was this like very inspirational, creative explosion in music and artistry, and I think for the most part, it was definitely inspired by the Beatles in more ways than one, and other bands. So I'm not putting down their songwriting ability of the other bands I've talked about, or the Who, or Led Zeppelin, but like shortly after all this, the concept album, which the Beatles started, being Sgt. Pepper, I guess you could put Abbey Road in there, became a thing, right? And it remains a thing. And every once in a while, what's my favorite concept album? I guess you could probably consider Green Day, American Idiot one. Where there's a clear theme. One to the Kinks had Schoolboys in Disgrace. Most of you have never heard of that. Check that out. Kinks, Schoolboys in Disgrace. Jack, the Idiot Dunce, my favorite on it, and which tells the story of a high school day, a typical day in a high school. Some are bad. Chris Gaines, the whole Garth Brooks as Chris Gaines. There's a concept. See what I mean? So they're still going, but until the Beatles really came through, and they were the first to really have a say in what their covers look like and design all that, and the first videos and all. It was right around that. So it's a very inspiring time. And Abbey Road, I think, if you were to listen to that now, even if you didn't know anything about the Beatles and you were listening to that, you'd have to say, fuck, man, like I appreciate that, like I appreciate a Van Gogh painting type of thing. That was a very choppy explanation, but I hope I've helped you out. Okay, I've been on here 20 minutes, and I got to get to Hamilton for Hockey Helps the Motherfucking Homeless, which is good. Motherfucking homeless. What an asshole. I mean, with Hockey Helps the Homeless, we raised almost $1 million last week in North York. Now we're going to be in Hamilton, and I got to take off, do my thing. So that's today and tomorrow. Saturday, Sunday, I'll be back in TO. And Monday, we'll have more Tales with TR. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. I forget what the hell I was going to say, but I know one thing that I was going to say was, if you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and you want to have a good time, you want to check out George Street, why not try out Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, the Martini Bar, Green Sleeves, and the Bull and Barrel. If you're going to go for a bite to eat, why not do it at Loose Tie, Blue on Water, and of course, Wedgwood Cafe, who also do catering. Rope Walk Lane, Ryan Power. Strength and balance for the body and mind. I mean it. Ryan Power right now. It's spring. Get out there. Ryan also does online courses, so you don't have to be in St. John's, Newfoundland anymore, or Clarenville, Newfoundland, to avail of his services. He can help you out online. Check it out. Ryan Power Conditioning. Check out the Instagram feed. Some interesting info. Mr. Lube, 2 locations. Kemont Road, Torbay Road. Live, laugh, lube. GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your life. Wasn't it? Laying the groundwork for your life. Anyway, check out GS Construction if you're in Edmonton, Alberta, and surrounding areas. Sandman's Company. Crown Cabinets. Fucking awesome cabinets. Muggsy Jeans. I loves me Muggsy Jeans. True Hockey, take what's yours. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'll be back in just a couple of days with a great guest and more Tales. Yeah!